All right, so I have the agenda open. There's a couple of things that I wanted to go through, and I'd love to hear from you if you've had any new challenges since the last time that we spoke, or any concerns about how we're prioritizing things. So the first item here is this review current and upcoming milestones. We could go through each of these together. I think the big stress that I guess I would put on this is what we're working on now is we're resolving some of the critical problems that we've had with NPM. We didn't support subgroups. Users couldn't authenticate using the GitLab token. They couldn't authenticate with CI job token. So it was one of our lowest customer sentiment features in the stage was NPM. So we're working through resolving those. And at the same time, we're doing what we can with the container registry. We're updating the UI to allow for multi-selection delete. As part of that, we're updating the delete so that when you select a tag, it will only delete the one that you selected instead of deleting all that share the same tag ID. And we are just wrapping up the user research that we did. And as part of that, we realized that we really, as far as what we show in the UI, don't expose a ton of metadata about what was built and how. And so we're working on a data model now and then translating that into what the UI could look like. But at a high level, what I consider to be really important there is we built basically, in my opinion, we built what Docker Hub was, and as in a quick way, and it works really well. But that doesn't really take advantage of what GitLab is, which is, you could build it with CI, you have your source code there, you have your Docker file all living in one place. We should really help users to show them all that information and then maybe give them an easy way to navigate between those things. I'm thinking about you and having all of the Docker files that you updated, and they're all built by pipelines. It'd be great if you could just go through the images and you could see which commit given image or tag came from, or if you could actually see the Docker file right there so you don't have to dance back and forth between projects like the CNG and the CNG mirror project. And then we're working on some additional, like, let's see. We talked about Helm actually when we last spoke. So one of the things that I read about was Microsoft announced support for Helm in their container registry, and I was speaking with one of our users who are actually using the container registry to host Helm charts today. So we're going to try supporting Helm charts within the container registry and see if it works. There might be it looks like there's some small UI changes that might be required to have the things like the size or the updated date be populated. But in terms of actually hosting the Helm charts there, it seems to work fine. What else are we working on? The big thing that we're working on is how do we figure out how to take the container registry minus these small updates that we're doing? How do we really figure out how to make it so that it scales? So we could do online garbage collection, so we could set retention and expiration policies, so we could sort the UI by updated date, and we could solve a lot of the pagination problems and performance problems that we're having. And Daniel's been leading those conversations, and it's really coming down to, do we fork the Docker distribution registry and just treat it as a separate service and iterate off of that, or do we build our own container registry? I think what's happening now is we're aligning on this idea of forking the existing Docker registry code and then making changes to that. And the reason being that they already solve things like authentication. They've already solved scale. They've already solved integrating with the Docker API layer. So we should take advantage of those things as much as we can, but make it our own so we could actually do things like run garbage collection. So start storing the data and then start being able to surface that data and act on it. And
is there plans for any upstreaming of any of that?
What do you mean?
Of the fork stuff.
Oh, send it back.
Are we planning to make any effort to reach out, or?
We haven't
yet. They may not want it, right? But
yeah, we were just talking about that today. We would like to. I think it's a really great way for us to contribute back to the open source community. It's just right now we have such a small team, and to do that well, I feel like we might need a few more people, a few more engineers, but it's definitely something that we're interested in. And if it's possible, we would definitely do it. Um, that's a good point, though. I could reach out to Docker myself and tell him what we're going through and see if I can get someone on the phone and maybe start a conversation going.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been doing, so in a lot of cases in our team, we deal with upstream packages that sometimes we have to vendor or fork and whatnot, and we don't necessarily have the manpower to fix things maybe properly or in a generic way or across the breadth of the other ones as well. So what we've taken to do is, at the bare minimum, we ensure that an issue is logged upstream for it.
I see. That's a great point. And have you had success with that?
Yeah, it depends on the project. So sometimes it's we make sure to log the issue, and sometimes I'd say more often than not we've leaned, if it's a small fix, we almost always upstream it ourselves, and we've had a lot of success with getting those taken. I would say we're just moderately successful with like a grander proposal being pushed up there and then being acted on. Those tend to take a long time. So there's only, like, we've been doing it for a while, so there's only been a couple that we've seen, and they've often happened like 2 years later type thing, right? And without the team growing on our side itself, we haven't had any case of like more of a partnership or anything like that in any of those cases. But we have tried to at least log the fact that this is something that we'd want to do.
Have you had success with Docker?
I don't think we've logged any. We've only done bug fixes, I think.
Okay.
With Docker distribution and like backports. So we did a couple backports with the distribution product itself, where they were just small things though, like they would add in like new Amazon regions or something like that, but only in master. They had distribution was bad for a while for running for I don't know, like 2.5 years without releasing another update.
Whoa.
But still having a lot of code churn in that time, up until recently with their 1.7 stuff. But they were on 1.6 for a very, very long time in terms of what was released. So we did do backports, but that was about it. We haven't engaged on any larger feature with any of the Docker team, as far as I know.
We've tried where, we have the NPM registry, and we've been able to get the NPM team on a couple of shared calls with the engineering team, and we're just started talking through partnership ideas, and we're doing some, like, we have plans for some co-marketing, or we've identified a few things that we would like to change, and they seem open to the conversation. I've submitted issues on Docker, but I haven't heard back yet, but I could try and actually connect to a product manager or someone on the Docker team. Actually, might be helpful.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we've seen anything overly engaging over there from us. Certainly other things we've engaged on, like that aren't Docker and not that team, like Helm and stuff like that, we see a lot more engagement on. So there's some things we see a lot less engagement on as well.
Right.
I think the Docker issues typically, at least ours, after a time at least, get commented on by the team.
Okay. How you're using Pages for Helm, right?
Yeah, for the index page, and then S3 for the storage of the chart.
What do you think about storing the chart in the container registry?
So in terms of where we store it, like, I don't care whether the chart, like the tar.gzs, which is the chart, is stored in S3 or in the container registry. Like in the container registry, it'll eventually be probably stored in S3 anyways. But it is kind of cool to store it in something that we ship, right?
Right. In the actual container. I wonder.
The index page, we've determined that GitLab, this is more recent, we've determined that GitLab Pages is not actually great for storing it. the index page. So I don't know what the plan is for the container registry if it also hosts the index page. But what we determined with pages is that there's two, because it's driven by CI to populate pages. There's too much room for you overwriting each other. So if you get two CI builds come in at the same time and they're updating different charts, but you only have one index file in the end, like one could undo the other's update. And there, we in GitLab in our CI, we don't really have a way to say like, don't run parallel pipelines at the moment or anything like that.
Oh, interesting.
So that's something we recently run into as we're starting to amp up our releases, that we're running releases at within seconds of each other sometimes to run different patch releases or a security release, and we're overwriting ourselves. So we're actually, I don't know if the container registry would fix this moving it there. At the moment, we have planned to move away from pages for storing the index page and S3 for storing the index page and storing the index page in Git itself, so that we get that that locking and that versioning.
I see. That's interesting. I wonder if you would get the same benefit from using the container registry as that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought I'd share this this blog from this Microsoft developer where I thought I would share it. Here we go. Where he's talking about using the Microsoft Container Registry for Helm and why it's more impactful with Helm v3, which I guess is still not released and stable yet. But I think the reasoning is they're moving away from Tiller, and they're basically saying that Docker is intended to just be storage, so there's no reason it can't store these Helm charts. Might be, and we're working on this. So maybe what we could do is after we document how to do this with the container registry, we could see if it would work for an example for one of your projects.
Yeah, that would be great. And I haven't looked at, so I think Helm 3 might change the change the syntax for the chart index as well. So they may have already, Helm 3 may have already solved my problem already. I don't know.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I haven't looked at the changes there yet. We have an open issue for us to start taking a look, but we haven't dived in yet.
What else? Oh, do you use Docker labels at all, or do you just use tags?
Just tags. We did. So you're thinking in terms of, well, I guess it's not what you. Is this one of the things like metadata you were thinking of raising up type thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we've only encountered the labels once, and that's usually when we're submitting the Docker images to a third party, like some sort of compliance or regulatory type thing. In our case, Red Hat, often you couldn't just put your images in Docker Hub for a Red Hat instance to be able to pull them down by default. Docker on Red Hat instead of pointing to Docker Hub by default points to Red Hat's own thing. In order to validate, they expected certain types of labels in your Docker file and stuff like that. So we have used labels in the past, but not for our own benefit. So we do have some images that might make use of labels, but we've never then filtered on them ourselves or anything like that.
My goal is to simplify your life when it comes to that CNG and CNG mirror project.
That's an excellent goal in my opinion.
Yeah, I just think if we could solve that problem, then we could solve other, really any problem for users. Because I think that is, you really are stretching the demands of the container registry and how it could be used and stuff. So I think it's a good target for us as a team.
Yeah, we're not using labels in any of those images.
Okay, and I'm wondering if we would in the future, if you could, because right now you're tagging things with just like the short SHA, But if you could have a label that says like milestone
It,
12.0 and it's it's identified to keep forever or something like that.
I haven't looked because we don't use them for anything currently. I haven't looked enough into it. Can you filter by label on like the command line client? No, you
Yes,
can't. Can
I
you?
think so. Yeah.
I'll have to take a look because that might be useful.
Okay, that'd be great. Um, what else was I going to say? That's all. I forget. But yeah, and how is it going with Package Cloud? Any recent
Uh,
issues or things that came up? Is it running smoothly?
yeah, just same old as far as I know. Alex, who I know was invited to this meeting as well, is the one who owns the updates for Package Cloud on the production side. So we're just more the heavy users of it. Um, so I don't know if he's run into any issues lately.
And the other thing I should mention is some of the integrations we're working through. So I don't think this one affects you, but the next one we're adding is Conan, which is for C++ developers.
Okay.
Um, we're in the middle of that. Then after that, we're doing NuGet for .NET. That's like our most popular requested issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I think I was planning on working on Ruby, just because, and I just found out that we have a sort of a POC that was done. So I think that's why I asked about Package Cloud, because I think that's the big use case, right? Is for storing and caching Ruby dependencies for your team.
No. Package Cloud is for the
Linux.
the Linux distribution by the packages, the RPMs
Okay.
and the devs.
And then what do you use for Ruby then?
For caching. We're just using artifacts cache in GitLab CI,
Oh, okay.
and we use like Ruby gems, same as the
Okay.
Rails project, and then Git itself, because you can have your Ruby file pull in from Git.
And
We use that rarely though. There's some security stuff with that.
I thought I had a note that if for you to, what has to be true for you to use our version of the Ruby package manager, we would need to support caching, right?
I don't remember if it was caching or so. I think we took a look at it, and it was more that we needed to do for the dependency proxy part to work with it. I think so that it would still go to Ruby gems. So yeah, I guess caching, have it do local caching of like the normal Ruby gems,
Okay,
rather than having to build a project for each one type thing.
that makes sense.
I'm not
Okay,
sure if that's already done or not, because one of the things is even if it was built into the dependency proxy without us running Puma at the moment, the
right,
dependency proxy doesn't work.
exactly.
So it's not live on GitLab.com anyways. So it might be one of those things that even if you had already solved that, we wouldn't necessarily know yet.
Right. Yeah, that's the big question for the container registry was, should we extend the dependency proxy and just use that as the new container registry, because it already has Docker pull, it has the caching that we want and proxying built in that we want. But I think we're leaning against that now, so that might delay improving, really investing in improving the dependency proxy while we invest in this container registry work.
Yeah, that may not be a terrible thing anyways, because like at some point we're probably going to get rid of Unicorn. So if you delay it, part of the problem might go away.
Yeah, that's true. How is that process going?
I haven't followed up on it at the moment. Initially, it was planned. I think it was initially planned for 12.2 for us to switch, but I think that was an ambitious plan because I haven't seen anything proposing it recently within the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
But I've been away on vacation for the last week and a half. So
That's right.
maybe it's still moving ahead. But last I knew, it was scheduled for 12.2, but to switch the default, I mean.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not sure.
Okay. What are you most excited about for you and your team now that you're working on?
That we're working on?
Yeah.
Uh, Probably getting Geo in the Helm charts is what we're working on.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds like a fun challenge.
Yeah, I haven't been working on it directly myself yet, but it's probably the one of the bigger milestones that we've been working on.
That's cool. Are there any other questions related to the package stage that I can answer?
No, I think I'm good. It hasn't been that many weeks, I think, since you and I talked.
Yeah.
It was pretty recently, and I haven't run into anything new.
Okay. That's great. I'm gonna stop recording, but then